Today I'm here with political strategist, former presidential campaign advisor, and author of The Real Ones, How to Disrupt the Hidden Ways Racism Makes Us Less Authentic. Y'all, I'm on the page 161. Please go outside and buy this book. Go to your local bookstore. They're still outside. There's one or two Barnes& and Noble still open. Go buy this book, y'all. I'm on a page 161, like for real, for real. Okay. Thank you, Maya, so much for joining us today. I have been waiting for this conversation.
I'm so excited about this, seriously.
The authenticity conversation, sis. Oh, my Lord. I feel like just on a personal level, I've been having it pretty much all my life.
Yeah. I feel that's the thing. I feel like when I started thinking about and talking about authenticity, whenever I would talk to women of any race, but especially women of color, and especially Black women, as soon as I would bring this up, we all had like 50 stories to go along with it. Mm-hmm. This is something, authenticity is like it feels like a more recent buzzword, but we have been grappling with it and this question since we didn't have the vocabulary to articulate authenticity, inauthenticity, being fake, being real, code switching, black card. We didn't have all of that. We just knew there were ways you behave in some settings, there are ways you behave in others, and that there was this constant feeling of being watched that made us have to develop a version of ourselves that was palatable for different people. And when that's how you grow up, the concept of authenticity is complicated. And it gets treated like it's so simple right now. Like it's so simple and it's so uncomplicatedly good. And that does not feel like a very accessible conversation for a lot of us.
No, I agree. And I'm so happy you brought up your childhood, because I jumped the gun a little bit, because we typically like to build it up from childhood, and then we get to the policy conversation and all that stuff. So I do want to back it up a little bit. And where did you grow up? Let's start there. Let's start at the basics. Talk about that. Your neighborhood. I want to know all your little business. Spill the tea, Maya. Where did you grow up, and how did that community shape you, if at all, to be the woman you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in a town called Yucca Valley. Well, that was a town when I was growing up. It was not a city yet. It's right next in California, Southern California, right next to Joshua Tree.
Okay.
People are much more familiar now because there's Coachella and Joshua Tree always had the monument, but it was not it
was not what it is today. Trust.
It's not anywhere close. And nobody had ever heard of it. Now it's so funny because so many people will be like, oh, you're right near Coachella. And now there's like a famous restaurant in Joshua Tree that people try to stop by on the way to Coachella that I remember as this like just complete, it's so weird how communities can transform.
Oh, yeah.
But they were very small. When I was growing up, Joshua Tree was considered a village and Yucca Valley was a town because they were so small. And they were predominantly white, very predominantly white areas. This was, I was born in 81. So this was 80s, 90s. Me and my sister very often being the only Black kids in the fill in the blank. It definitely shaped how I think I grew up because it was, you were so conscious of difference at an age and at a time when all you wanted to be was just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I think that the ways that we talk about diversity and embracing differences now, it's shifted a lot. Our collective politics have changed since the 90s, but also I think, it was a small town. It was a town with not a lot of money. It's not as though I was growing up in like a predominantly white area, in an area where everyone was really, really conscious and wanted to embrace diversity. This was a very different time. And I think that the way I handled it was to internalize a lot of, okay, well, if I'm the only Black person a lot of people know who aren't the caricatures that they see on TV shows or movies, I need to be, like, I kind of took on this, I want to be the ambassador for, like, I need to be one of the good ones.
Yep.
That was how, it was the respectability politics of the 90s that just got internalized in
Yep.
my, and again, we didn't have any of the language for that. I just knew
Mm-hmm.
that somehow if I could show them that I'm not like the assumptions they make about us,
Mm-hmm.
that I could earn myself better treatment, that I could earn myself
Yeah.
out of racism or anything like that. And obviously that is not a real
Right.
thing. And
Isn't that
it is a
it's
fool's errand.
it is, and it's insidious how that penetrates inside of you, how we take on
Yes.
that labor that's placed onto us from other people's biases.
Yep.
And we in turn, hi Crispin. Crispin is enjoying the conversation.
She really is. She is like, I like this. I think I want to listen closer.
But no, but seriously, I've been doing a lot of work this week, specifically with different types of women's groups. And there was this one event this global event I attended, and there was this young woman, and her words stick with me, Maya. Basically, she was saying, she's early career, and she's afraid, basically, that she'll be too black in a space and that she will be the stereotype. And that what scares her the most is that there's some parts of her that are the stereotype.
Right.
And I was like, baby, that ain't got nothing to
Right.
do with you.
It doesn't, and it is shocking how easy it can be to feel like it does. To feel like it is your responsibility to challenge stereotypes that other people have about you. And the internalized guilt that you can feel for embodying some of those stereotypes is so, that like hurt my heart when you said that, because I remember that feeling. I remember thinking, there are certain things that people think about black women, but they're especially true about a dark-skinned black woman. So I need to be extra nice, smiley, whatever the thing is. I need to really do it, because otherwise it's even worse in some way, because people think, like if you feel like you conform in some way to a stereotype, you have to challenge it. You learn that early on. That shapes how you think of who you are. And I think it's why I'm so interested in authenticity, because the core of the question of authenticity, the way we talk about it, there has to be like a quote real me. There has to be a me under everything else. And if your real me developed alongside all these other questions about who you're allowed to be and are you embracing a stereotype, that impacts how you see yourself at a fundamental level. And so the concept of authenticity, before we even had words for it, we were reshaping ours.
Crispin, your mama is cooking, honey. So so part of this show, Nola Haynes is not a spy. It's a play on the fact that my dad is convinced that I'm Jack Ryan in real life. And so the original name of the show was I'm Not Jack Ryan, but it was one or two copyright issues. So anyway,
Sure. Yeah.
part of what we do is that we kind of bring in and we talk about the TV shows and the films that kind of help shape our lives. And so usually for me, that's probably some national security movie. But I'm curious, as we're talking about what we're talking about, what's a movie you loved growing up that still sticks with you?
You know what? Gosh, growing up, TV is easier for me than movies. For a long
Okay.
time, I would always joke, I liked TV before it was good. Like, I feel like everyone kind of likes TV now.
My papa used to call it the boob tube, and I grew up with those two words in my brain, the boob tube. Like,
Right. Right, because watching TV used to be like a less sophisticated
right?
form of,
Yes.
and it always annoyed me so much, because I was like, you can tell better stories on TV. You get more time. You get
more
to
time.
watch a character develop. But nobody was with me on that, and then Prestige TV happened, and everyone gets it now.
I
But
think HBO just kind of came in and just like changed everybody's concept of what TV can be. That's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation. But anyway, okay. So what's your TV show?
So honestly, one of the most like iconic and like still stands out for me TV shows was Saved by the Bell. I
Really?
loved that. I mean, I loved that show. I feel like every one of the generation we
The
all
original.
watched, and the original. Though, listen, I watched that reboot, and I am still mad at some people for not letting that show continue, because somehow they did this really great thing with the Saved by the Bell reboot, which is, by the way, available on Peacock. If you have the time, check it out. It's worth it. It's like 2 seasons. They're short, and it's very watchable. They somehow kept the nostalgia and updated it and challenged a lot of, like, the original was just a celebration of tropes. And so the reboot kind of like challenged that and updated it for a new audience, a new set of politics. And
I know, because I was there, Maya.
Wait,
I was on
what?
the set. I was there. I know.
You were not.
I have a story for you. This is a true story. You ready? Jamila,
okay,
here we go. We're going to clip this moment. Here we go, Jamila.
Oh my gosh.
This is
Okay,
a true story.
Go.
Do you know, so I was a young actress, and I grew up in LA. I went to high school in Pasadena, then moved to LA.
Okay.
So I know very well of the area in which you grew up in.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yes.
Dustin Diamond, who played Screech, got me my first big agent, which was his agent. I'm not kidding, Maya. I was doing background on the show, and I was just kind of sitting in the bleachers one day. I don't know, and Dustin kind of came over there, and I don't want to insinuate he was flirting. He thought that I was a guest principal actor that week, and so he just came over and started talking, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm background," and he was like, "Background." He's like, "No, honey, you are a principal actor. Obviously, I'm being extra and putting my own,
Sure.
spin on it." But by the time we left the set, I think that day, I dropped my photo off to our then agent, Mary Grady. I slid my little headshot under her door, and this was the '90s, so I had a beeper, and it was sky blue.
Oh.
By the time I walked to my Toyota Corolla, Mary Grady had paged me, and I walked away that day with an agent, and that was because of Dustin Diamond. True story.
Wow. I love everything about that story, and not the least of which is that your page was sky blue. Are you kidding me? This is the most, I am like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was...
That is so cool.
I would have never thought in a million years you would have been just Saved by the Bell.
I lived and breathed for Saved by. I mean, seriously, I feel like so many
Lisa
of us
Turtle
did.
was that girl.
Lisa Turtle was that girl.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm actually really. This is because I loved the show, and I constantly had this kind of like internal battle with myself of like, Jesse Spano was very like that was. Attitude-wise, mentality-wise, that was me.
Okay,
I
can see that.
As a young person, like, the way that I embraced feminism and a pretty, again, I was young, unsophisticated version of feminism, really, I felt mirrored in Jesse Spano.
Wow,
But
that's deep. Okay.
Lisa was always... I always was going to gravitate to the black girl and the sole black girl on a show like that. So I had this like little internal battle. This is actually something I do talk about in the book, that I sort of, I felt kinship to these two sort of avatars of womanhood. And it was kind of a, at any given moment, which one do I feel sort of closer to in a story? But that is so interesting. Being on the set, did you feel, because I feel like it was unspoken, but it was always there for those of us that were watching it, that it was like, there were ways that Lisa's storylines just felt a little marginalized as being the black girl on set.
I did the new class. I wasn't, I didn't do the first one. I did the new class when Screech came back as a teacher.
With Bianca Lawson, right?
Bianca?
Wasn't she new class?
Was Bianca on that? I don't remember Bianca being on that.
Bianca Lawson has been playing a 16-year-old
forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And still do it right now, my age.
Yeah.
Could get cast tomorrow as the new ingenue.
Yeah. I don't remember that there was a young black guy, Anthony, who I got to know pretty well, him and his brothers, but maybe my time, because I did leave the show after I got my agent and I became an actual principal actor. I left. So maybe she was on after I left, or...
Okay, maybe that makes sense. So can I ask you, I'm sorry, I'm completely going to derail this, but I'm so interested in this. Your experience acting, how did that, like, were you did you feel challenged did you feel sort of boxed in by the stories
Oh,
that you were being asked to help tell?
that is an understatement of the century. You about to get me to tell all my little business. So there is this famous story about auditioning for Baby Boy, and so that process went on for quite some time, if I can remember. And one of the things that John Singleton would always say to me, he would look at me, he'd be like, "I like you. I don't know what to do with you."
Oh,
And that was always the response I would get. Either
yep.
I looked too young, or I was black, but I wasn't hood black. And then I had the big curly hair, and I probably still had my New Orleans accent at that time.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of different things, and my authenticity was always being challenged.
Right.
And I've never been a woman to kind of display body parts like that, coming from conservative deep South, you know?
A lot of times when I talk about these issues, we immediately put it in the box of politics, political authenticity. But cultural authenticity and the authenticity that is required of us in like storytelling and creation is so fascinating to me because there's a contradiction there. That is, you couldn't be seen in the way that you needed to be by the black shows. And yet there's an invisibilizing that happens in the white shows. There's like a very prescribed idea that you could be maybe a token black girl, but a lot of times just our stories were invisible in those places. But even saying, okay, there could be black shows and black movies, you still had to fit within a certain box, and it had nothing to do with your actual authenticity, because what you're describing is what you were, is who you are. It didn't matter that that didn't fit. What mattered was an outside perception of what black authenticity was, and that had to be hood black girls, and you look a certain way and you act a certain way and you have a certain set of comfort, and that is obviously not the experience of most of us. But the question wasn't, can you display your authenticity? The question was, can you conform with the idea of authenticity that other people, a wider audience, has about us?
That's the question, and it brings me to an important point, because you said, being who you are is an indulgence afforded to people who never had to answer the question, who do you think you are? And for people of color, being too authentic can be a cardinal sin, as what we are fleshing out for you all right now. So when did you first start questioning that idea, Maya? Who do you think you are?
I mean, I feel like it's sort of the facetious question that kind of dogged a lot of us, right? Young black girls, if we were too smart, if we spoke a certain way, if we talked back, if we were too whatever, you got to ask, who do you think you are, right? I think it sort of followed us in this way, and it was kind of like, you know, it was this kind of weird challenge, but it shouldn't have been. Like who do you think you are should be a question that we get asked without the sarcasm attached to it, just right. But we were not given the chance to explore that in the same way. And so I would say from a young age, like you were saying, I mean, it's a conversation we've been having before we had words to have it. I think I started to be really conscious of it. Honestly, it was probably when I got to college, when I left Yucca Valley and I left kind of like, okay, I'm going somewhere new. And I was still at a predominantly white institution.
Where'd you go?
I went to UC Santa Barbara as an undergrad.
Okay, we still in the UC family. I went to UCLA. All right.
Yeah, so I went there, which again, it's not like I immediately was around a huge group of black people.
Right, not at all.
There were more than there had been, so I was kind of,
Okay.
And I started to kind of feel this like, okay, who am I? How do I fit in? And realizing how much of my life and identity really had become around making white people feel comfortable. And that kind of weird social credit that we get and can get from being the black person that white people feel comfortable around.
Speak on it.
And that was a very jarring realization to have, that it was like, oh, wow, not just is this something I can do, because I do think that I'm a diplomatic person who can take complicated issues and make them more accessible to people. That's something I hope is always true about me. But that there was a psychological thing that happened with me that I felt a level of acceptance and embraced because I was able to do that with white people. And that was the part that gave me some discomfort, because I did not think about how much of that identity was about how do I make sure that everyone else around me is comfortable, even at the expense of my own comfort.
We all know that all too well, and it's unfortunate. It is so unfortunate that is the thinking, that we are so impacted by the ways in which other people's racism, sexism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, all the things, right? Like, and then they put that on us, and we have to figure out how to navigate it. And as I mature and move through this world, Maya, I'm starting to get this resentment around having to perform for others who probably could care less if I'm dead or alive, if we keep it at a buck.
And that's it. There are these moments that I feel like we realize I just twisted myself into a pretzel trying to make sure the thing you said that was objectively offensive didn't seem like it offended me so much that now it hurt your feelings. So I'm like doing and you didn't care enough to check if you hurt my feelings.
Man.
And that's when it really hits me. I tell this story in the book, but I remember I'd gone on a date. I went on a date with this white guy who, over our first date, I mean, I should have known a lot of different ways that this was not a love connection. But we went to
red flag convention.
Listen, we had a midday coffee date, and it was medium. It was awkward. I'm trying. It's not coming together. And at some point, he tells me that he had a Confederate flag tattoo. And I remember being so taken aback by it. And then he immediately starts doing this. Well, I did it because I lived in Texas, and that's all it was. And I did it with friends, and I only have used the N-word once in my life, and my mother slapped me, and I never use it. It was like, he's just pulling out all of his, I'm not racist, I'm not racist. And then he said, I feel like you're treating me like I'm racist. And in that moment, I went into this like, oh, I can't let this man feel like I'm treating him like he's racist. Let me comfort him. Let me change the conversation and get hyper charming so that he gets that I'm not judging him for something he did that's judge worthy. And I did such a good job at it. He called me the next day he wanted to go out again. And I was so amazed that I had done such work to try to make sure that this man wasn't offended by my offense to something he did. That he thought we were going to go on another date. And it hit me that I was like, he didn't even care enough to not disclose this to me over a first date. He was so uninvested in my feelings that he did this, but I was so invested in his that I was able to make him think that everything was okay. And that disparity, that incommensurate, I put in the effort and you're a beneficiary of my effort, was so jarring to me. It was like recentering.
I bet.
But I think we do that kind of thing a lot, right?
We do. And I know we can just keep talking, but I have a quick story of my own like that was actually pretty recent. I was up for a CEO role a few years ago, and one of the funders, big funders, we walk into dinner. I'm being brought in via the exiting CEO, which is to say she has my stamp of approval, and he was bringing me around to meet some folks that I needed to meet. The first thing this man says to me, basically he's on board with DEI, basically is what he was saying. The next sentence, but I don't believe in reparations.
Okay.
it's nice meeting you in the first 2 seconds, and thank you for
Exactly.
sharing
Why
that
on
with
earth
me.
did that need to come?
And how am I supposed to act and be in this moment? Because to
Yeah,
your point, now I have to make sure he feels comfortable. Forget the
exactly.
fact that I am shook if, and I'm trying
Right.
to hide it because my face don't be telling no lies. And I'm like, okay, how do I navigate this moment? How do I show
Right.
up to be the potential black professional CEO? And how do I show this man that I can handle comments and statements like that? But I was mad
Right.
at myself, Maya. The whole time that I was sitting there at that dinner, I was pissed at myself. I shamed myself after that meeting, and I still shame myself. I still do.
Why?
Because I hate it. I felt so icky because I was. It's one thing when you go through when you're younger, but when you're old enough and you have all of this kind of knowledge about the world, and I am sitting there participating in this kind of violence because it is its own type of violence.
Yeah.
I'm participating in it. I'm participating in my own degradation is how I felt in that moment. So we could continue to talk about this. We have 80,000 kabillion jillion questions to get to. And I want to make sure that we break this book down. And as I'm going through it, one of the things that people are always talking about, they want authenticity, authenticity. We hear it
Right.
over and over, especially now in the political atmosphere that we're in, especially now with content creators and influencers being such a big thing now.
Yep.
Everybody and their mama is talking about authenticity. But let me ask you this question, Maya. Are people really, are they talking about familiarity versus authenticity? Like, how do I feel safe with you? Where do we connect? Where do we align? Like, what are we talking about when we're
Right.
talking about authenticity?
So then, and I think this is what is kind of at the core of the book, is that really the way we talk about it, authenticity kind of means everything and therefore nothing. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like because we mean so many different things, that authenticity doesn't really exist. Because if what we're actually saying is,
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody who's actually who they are at their core, well, that's an entirely internal inquiry. Nobody knows who I am at my core and if I'm being that except for me.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a judge on my hypocrisy or consistency. I can say, I like this, I don't like this, and then if 15 minutes later I say I do like it, then yes, you can say, well, you've reversed course, you're not being right, but you don't know which of those is actually true,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can't, it's hard. What I say is, in the book is, proving your authenticity is not writing a book, it's defending a dissertation. Because when people ask for my authenticity, they're saying, perform something for me and let me assess how it makes me feel
Yeah,
about how honest you're being.
they want to feel, they want you to perform things that they're familiar with, right?
Exactly.
And so, and one of the things that I'm so happy that you talk about code switching and all of these different things, because I tend to think that sometimes the community is a little bipolar when it comes to black success. Who can have it?
Yes.
How much we can have, right? Because when I think about Kamala Harris, I'll give her as an example
Yes.
really quick. I remember when everybody and their mama was sharing all the clips of her when she was a senator, when she was taking Jeff Sessions and all of them to task, honey.
Yep.
Every other day, people were sharing a viral clip, right? And everybody was Team Kamala, everybody. And then she has the audacity to want to be a president of
Yes.
these United States. And then all of a sudden she a hoe, she all types of things. Black
Right.
people all of a sudden don't like her. She's not black enough. Her husband ain't black. His kids
Right.
ain't black. Black, 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 black. And then it's not even the right type of black because her daddy from the Caribbean. All the
Right.
things,
Yep.
right? All the things. And there's a lot that we have to go through when we're climbing different ladders of success. Would you say that men and women that climb the ladder of success, did they do it by kind of being inauthentic, as you mentioned, by code switching and learning respectability politics to then be asked to be all of a sudden show up as their full self in a
Right.
campaign? What effects do you think that has on a candidate of color to have to navigate all of that, Maya?
I mean, it is a it is such an impossible task. And it's the reason I think that there are so many challenges candidates of color face that we don't even know how to name, because the point at which they really started having to grapple with them was before we're even dealing with them as a candidate, right? I think that the truth is, if Kamala Harris had come up as a black woman in Oakland and had been a defense attorney and had been as progressive as the current Democratic sort of electorate base is today,
Yeah.
Kamala Harris is a woman we've never heard of who, retired as a defense attorney in Oakland.
Wow.
Like, let's be
Wow.
completely real about the environment that she was coming up in. The assumption was already that she was going to be pro-defense. Describing motive here, I don't know Kamala Harris's thought process on any of this, but I'm saying, if she knew she wanted to do something, she knew she wanted to do something big, she wanted to run for office, she knew what was in front of her, she knew the stereotypes she was going to have to overcome, she was going to have to prove to white voters that this is somebody who is going to be tough on crime, who is going to protect this community, who is not going to be the stereotype they already have about her, and were honestly probably much less cautious about saying that because it was the 80s and the 90s. And she made the choices that she made. She got to where that she was. And then everyone acted as though the path that was available to her right now had been available to her entire career. And that is a fiction. Now, again, Kamala Harris is a grown woman and she is capable of stating her own politics. I'm not saying she's secretly more progressive than she seemed, but sometimes I did get frustrated with, I'm definitely on the left wing of the Democratic Party, and I would sometimes get very frustrated with the way some white leftists in particular talked about Kamala Harris, because it was done with almost no regard for the political environment that she came up in. And sometimes I think that when we demand of politicians this consistency, well, Bernie Sanders has been who Bernie Sanders was since his early career. That's great, and it definitely lets me know what his values are, but Bernie Sanders was able to get elected as an independent in Vermont with those politics and stay in office for a very long time. He was not up against the same set of things that other candidates were.
Yeah.
So when we ask for that kind of consistency over 20 years, for candidates of color, we're pretending as though they had the ability to express a full range of politics and not be considered so radical that they just never would have been taken seriously.
Okay, well, you said that you saw some things during that time that upset you. You really about to be pissed because we're about to talk about Jasmine Crockett. So you wrote that authenticity can be dangerous and expensive, and we've seen that conversation continue around Jasmine Crockett. After she responded to criticism that she wasn't campaigning enough for James Tallarico, right? Like, it has to be to their liking. Some people praised her for speaking honestly, while others said she simply had fallen in line for the good of the party. It seems like she was criticized for less what she believes rather than refusing to perform the response people expected from her. Is that what you mean when you say authenticity can be expensive?
Yeah, I think that Jasmine Crockett, unfortunately, just gave us a real life test example of how authenticity becomes a double bind for candidates of color, but especially black women. Jasmine Crockett got critiqued because people said that she was too well defined in the eyes of voters, which means she had been authentic, which means people felt like they knew exactly who she was. She was very anti-Trump. She's been very critical of him. And that meant that she can't win in Texas. A bunch of people said she can't win. Whereas James Tallarico, what people called him, which I thought was so interesting, they called him strategically ambiguous. He avoided making it too clear? Is he going to run as a progressive? He did enough so that progressives felt like he's a progressive, and he did enough so that people who were less comfortable with a progressive said, oh no, but he can win in Texas because he's not taking the extreme positions. He was able to kind of embody this place where everyone just projected upon him what they wanted. Here's what's interesting. You could say the same thing about the way Kamala Harris ran, but she got called inauthentic. Strategically ambiguous is not that's not an option for Black women.
Not at all. And it's not a flex for anybody. Let's just be honest about that. I wouldn't want to be called that.
Well, that's the thing. People say they want authenticity, but they allow some candidates, especially white men, to be ambiguous enough that they can be anything. So she ultimately doesn't win that primary. Then she is critiqued for not being all in enough for her former opponent. That, despite the fact that there were some really racist and sexist attacks that she had to endure during that race, that the campaign didn't do enough to say, hey, wait, that's not how I want to run. So, fine, he won. But the idea that she now needs to jump all in and make sure that her voters are with him, one, I don't think that was, we're not in a situation where this is Bernie versus Hillary and there are a bunch of supporters who are like, well, I won't support the other person. Democrats in Texas understand the stakes and are going to vote with their values. I don't think there are a bunch of Jasmine Crockett voters who are genuinely like, I wouldn't vote for James Talarico.
Right,
so I do think that, one, there's just less of an obligation there. There's not this sense that it's like, if you don't do this, we're not going to be united. So
which makes it feel performative and makes it feel like I need you to jump when I want you to.
I need you to, exactly. I need you to jump when need you to, and I need you to perform the forgiveness that Black women are always called on. Come and absolve everyone. Show everyone what a big person you are. Do that thing that Black women are supposed to do, where we get to mistreat you, and then you, in the name of your integrity and your character, show us that you're better than that, and you're willing to. Why?
Girl,
why?
You're up here preaching this morning.
And what is the prize she gets for that? Like, everyone's character, integrity, everyone's I will rise above. Look, she dealt with horrific attacks. Black women in politics deal with this consistently. If she is not called upon because there is some genuine threat to democracy that's like, if you're not the one speaking out, we might lose this for something. Let that woman go do what she needs to do.
That part.
Like, the race that was run was run. We have a nominee. I think people are going to vote for. I think people are going to vote for Talarico as Jasmine Crockett is not going to be the deciding endorser there. Let her do what she's going to do. And I think we've got to let go of this idea that there's like, it's incumbent upon Black women to be the like spiritual savior in every situation to like bring everybody back together.
I agree. And, to be very clear to the audience of the Nola Haynes is Not a Spy audience, Jasmine Crockett did, in fact, right after the election, urge her voters to support Talarico.
Absolutely, yes.
I want to be very clear about that because the misinformation, the disinformation, it's either not telling the whole truth or intentionally telling false truth, telling lies. So let's be very clear about that.
Yes, and I was being sort of the way I was describing that.
No, not you. I just want to make sure the audience understands.
I should have been clearer that it's like the issue is not endorse or not. The issue is she campaigning? People are saying she should be out campaigning for him and doing. Does she have to become a surrogate?
Right.
In a situation like that, does she? I really do think we have I think we just have an unrealistic expectation of what we expect Black women to both endure and then somehow through her class and race make okay.
Absolutely. And I want folks out there to understand how Maya is speaking about this authoritatively. This isn't some mere observation as a passive voter. Maya, you've worked on campaigns at the highest level, most notably as an advisor for Julian Castro's campaign for president in 2020. I think at the time only it was some crazy small amount of black women that had only ever done that before. So as we're gearing up for the midterms, and the stakes are incredibly high,
Very high.
if you were sitting in a strategy meeting tomorrow, what's the first thing you tell Democratic leadership?
Donald Trump, just because he threw a temper tantrum, decided not to sign a bipartisan housing bill that would bring costs down for renters and homeowners across this country. Everyone is running on that. Every single person who is running against a Republican, that person either needs to publicly break with Donald Trump and say that he messed up and that he is not invested in the affordability agenda that is top of mind for voters, or they get tagged with his decision not to bring down people's rent, not to bring down people's mortgages. We have to start showing where there are ideas that are being pushed forward from Democrats that are being blocked by this president because he is more invested in himself than anyone else. But it's more than that. We are in a moment in this party where we are seeing that voters are responding to big and bold ideas. The Democratic leadership has to get behind that. We're having a debate right now that to me feels disconnected from reality. No one cares about democratic socialists versus centrists versus establishment. People are going grocery shopping.
Yep.
They are putting kids in daycare. They are figuring out how they're going to make magic happen with back to school shopping. They are worried about the things that are impacting them. And we are having an academic debate about the philosophical direction of our country or of our party. We need to listen to voters who are responding to people who are running on bold ideas that will put money in the pockets of people, that will even the playing field and make things fair for people. And I'm scared that people are seeing this direction and they're getting spooked by the idea of things going too left or democratic socialists. And instead of taking advantage of this moment and listening to voters, we are scolding people about going too far left. People are responding. We need to listen. And that's what I think the Democratic leadership needs to do right now. We need to be solely focused on what is getting voters to turn out. And those are ideas, which should be exciting for us. They're big ideas, and we need to run on those ideas.
I agree with you. And, one of the things that I like about the new media space, you can do media where callers call in, you can be in the comments with folks, like
Yes.
you can hear from people, everyday people, what they're thinking. And one of the things that I hear constantly are voters are wanting a vision that isn't just against Trump. What is the vision for
Yes.
the country? What are we going to do to get us back on track? Now, I'm a national security and foreign policy person, so what are we going to do to get our allies to trust us again, right? Like these kind of big, bold visions.
Yes.
From what I am seeing from Americans, that's what they want to see from the party. To your point, not this ridiculous argument that's been happening on social media since the wins in New York. No, people
Right.
want to know how much longer gas prices are going to continue to fluctuate.
Right.
They want to know how much longer prices at the grocery store are going to continue to fluctuate, right?
Right.
That's what people want to know. And then also, what's the vision beyond the recovery? What
Right.
is that bold new vision for the country?
Right. People are talking about AI and what it means for the future of work. And young people are like, am I going to graduate and have a job? Or
That
will
part.
all the entry level jobs be gone?
Yep.
No, most people don't interact that much with the DNC or the DSA or any.
Right,
People
right.
think of the Democratic Party as who's running for office for them.
Yeah.
So that's how we need to be looking at this. And I think that we're getting distracted by an argument that doesn't matter. We need a plan on how we're going to protect human labor in a new world order. We need a response on data centers that takes seriously environmental concerns and community concerns and isn't going to start pricing people out of a whole new set of communities. We need to be taking this moment, looking at it and saying, political imagination has expanded. People are willing to say, oh, it's not inevitable that I would go broke if I got sick. Like, people are willing to say, I'm willing to think about reordering our politics. So let's focus on that. Let's do that part and get people who are running, who make people feel like, I want to show up and vote because I think that you will do something so that my life will be different a month from now than it is right now. And that's what people want to feel right now. It's what people need to feel right now.
I so agree with you. And again, you are speaking from your expertise. You are speaking from what you've seen, what you've observed from being there, which is why this advice hits different coming from you because you've seen it all, right? And I wish that we had more time, but we need to move into the last part of the show.
Yes.
It's called The Debrief, and it's quickly becoming a fan favorite.
Okay.
So here's how it works. Before I let you go, I must get you to participate in our segment we like to call The Debrief. In this finale, we end with me asking you both a series of questions and you telling me the first answer that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Love it. Yes.
Okay. Name a fictional politician from a TV show that you wish you could work for.
Jed Bartlett all day.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm rewatching West Wing right now. I'm rewatching it right now.
And any single time. Yes.
I knew you were going to say that. I mean, he's okay.
I mean,
this always happens when we play the game. I get caught up in the answer. Okay,
right.
I get so caught. I am literally rewatching West Wing right now. But okay. All right.
Oh, I love it.
What's a stronger asset for a candidate on a campaign trail? Charisma or competence?
Charisma.
Because
It is. I think because I feel like competence is almost. It's like people aren't going to see it unless you're charismatic. The competence needs to happen, but we need you to we got to get people to pay attention first. And so we draw people in when someone's a talented communicator, when they're great, right? And then they get to see that you're competent.
You're right. I like how you put that. Okay, so what's the most overrated political buzzword right now?
I mean, I got to go authenticity. Or electability too. I don't even know what that the ability to get elected. Like everyone has. It's these proxy words that wind up just being. Now I can just fill in all my pre-existing notions about who should be in office and say it's about authenticity.
When I hear it, basically what they're saying is not a black woman.
Yes, that is also how that could be pronounced. Yes.
Okay, so name a politician more people should be paying attention to.
Oh, Charles Booker in Kentucky. I worked with him in the he just won his primary. And that race people are not paying attention to yet, but it's Mitch McConnell's seat and it's an open seat. And I know it's Kentucky, but we have a Democratic governor in Kentucky. Democrats can win statewide in Kentucky, and that could be a really important pickup.
I mean, look what's happening with Lindsey Graham's seat. I mean, Andy Andrews. I mean, come on.
That's the thing. We have got to stop with this idea that there are some places we can win and some places we can't.
I agree. As a Southerner, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Last question. If authenticity is the wrong goal, what should we be striving for instead?
So I would say realness. I would make the distinction that what we need is, I feel like realness to me has a lot more to do with I feel aligned with what I'm doing rather than I'm matching a preconceived idea of what other people think I should be doing. I think that in order for people to be successful, and especially in politics, you need to feel an internal sense of this aligns with what I'm doing. But that internal sense shifts over time. It doesn't have to be, I felt this way 20 years ago, so I should feel this way now. In fact, your ideas should evolve over 20 years.
I completely agree.
Change they should change when you listen to smart people who disagree with you. So I want to take off this idea of like, in order for me to believe that your values are real, they have to be the ones you've always had. I want to get away from this idea that in order for me to believe like who you are is who you say you are, you have to conform with ideas I have about that. Because then if you're a first or an only or a few, I just have fewer boxes to imagine you in, and I'm going to think you're inauthentic. So I want there to be an inquiry that has a lot more to do with internal alignment and getting to where you need to be. And you showcase that by talking about it, by being open about it, by saying, actually, this is my evolution on this issue. This is why I said this, and now I think this. Rather than trying to like come up with talking points or a clever way of doing it, just be straight up with people. I think it's the path that we're on, but I think there's a way we can do it and make this actually more accessible to more people.
I love it. And to the Nola Haynes is Not a Spy audience, y'all, this book is so powerful. Maya opens it up talking about trying to explain authenticity to a reporter and how you stumbled a few times trying to get it out, and almost being done with reading the book, talking to you now, it's clearer to me why you stumbled to answer the question. Because you were working through it at that time, because something about it didn't feel authentic.
Right. And you have that moment, you're like, what am I trying to say?
Yeah.
And you know it's there.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a way of talking about it yet, and I hope we do now.
Absolutely. Thank you for this gift. Let everybody know how they can find you, keep up with you, and buy your brilliant book.
Absolutely. You can visit me online at mayarupert.com. I'm also on like all the social media at Maya Rupert on X, and Maya.Rupert on Instagram and Facebook and Blue Sky. So I'm around. I'm always happy to chat via DM. I love talking about this stuff. So.
And we can find your book everywhere?
Everywhere. It's out. It came out in February, so it is out. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. And to the Nola Haynes is Not a Spy audience, please, please, please share with your friends and family about us. We know that the show is gaining in momentum. Top 10% of global podcasts.
Yes.
I'm just saying. So please continue to support the show. And Maya, again, thank you for your time. Because we could have talked a whole nother hour.
I did not realize we were.
Yes.
I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.